Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company and Elon Musk. Today we're going to look at a documentary which I believe is very, very relevant to this channel. It covers the interaction between bikes and cars in some major cities, and I think it obviously is very interesting in regards to the Boring Company. So, this documentary is called Bikes versus Cars. I believe it was released about two and a half years ago. It's not a huge documentary. It didn't get much, didn't get really seen that much, but it does cover a lot of topics that are quite critical to the Boring Company in terms of taking cars off the road. So I thought it's something we should look at. So, if you want to learn more about it, the website is there. It's produced by WG Film, which is based in Sweden. If you want it screened at your local cinema, there's an email address for you. And it was directed by Fredrik Gerten. So this is my summary of what this is covering, this particular documentary. Bikes versus Cars explores the dynamics of various cities in relation to congestion and bike use, and does so by speaking to various stakeholders who are both affected by car traffic or benefit from the automobile industry. The documentary displays opinions on both sides of the debate and adds a healthy supplement of facts throughout the film. These facts clearly highlight the harm caused by congestion. So one of the good things I like about this film is that it speaks to everyone. If you've ever watched some of these documentaries on Netflix, although they are covering an important topic, they only cover it from the point of maybe the environmentalist, and therefore sometimes it comes across as very biased, which scares some people away. So it's important to have that kind of neutral view where you have different people coming on and giving their opinions, and then you can come to your own conclusion at the end of the documentary. So I thought we could look at the key characters in this film, and then I'll talk to you a bit about what happens and summarise what I think are the key sort of conclusions that you should come to from watching this film, although you should come to your own conclusions really. Definitely worth watching though, guys. It's available on Vimeo. So we've got Aileen Calvacanti. She's a university student living in Sao Paulo. She wanted to drive but used the expensive bus service initially, which was also quite a crappy bus service. She then began cycling and became hooked. She says it gives her more energy and a clear mind. Her friend Julie is killed. She's crushed by a bus in Sao Paulo. She wants action to change the local road layout and talks with a town planner who sort of comes up with a plan for how we can make this road junction a bit more safer. She then follows cycling deaths a lot more closely and protests when there is an incident. She also shows us some proof that big oil and construction companies in Brazil are gaming the political system. She calls it an endless black hole and watches new cycle lanes constructed in Sao Paulo at the end of the film, which is great. It's great that they made that move. She's kind of the key character of this film. She has a real keen interest in cycling. She wants to see more people cycling in Sao Paulo, which is notoriously dangerous for cyclists to actually use the road network in Sao Paulo because of all the accidents. We then have this guy who's based in the USA, Dan Koppel. He is an urban explorer and avid cyclist living in Los Angeles who has constructed his entire life around his bike. That includes moving his child to school in a sort of a converted bike. He has followed the history of the automobile companies like GM, pushing a car-centric approach to LA via lobbying and then buying buses, trams and rail lines in LA via shell companies. Feels this is bullshit and that cars get total priority over cyclists, and the poor air quality, climate change and asthma rates in Los Angeles are a direct cause of this car-centric approach, which he is entirely correct about. It comes across as a bit of a nutter, but I'm pretty confident he's at heart he has got the right message. But yeah, very interesting to see what he's doing and how he's trying to push more cycling facilities into LA. So here's our main character, Aileen. Here's our cycling nutter, Dan. It's Dan, isn't it? Yeah, Dan. Here's some more characters. We've got Joel Ewanik. He is a former marketing director at Hyundai and is largely pro-car but anti-climate change and wants to keep the status quo. Believes people love their gas-powered automobiles too much to move away from the way life is at present, and feels lobbying and fighting regulations that are unnecessarily stringent is a good thing for the industry, but feels that millennials are less interested in cars as social tools and automobile companies will soon adapt to this sea change in the industry. He's basically he's worked for the industry all his life. He's only got one point of view, and he's kind of in denial really. The whole industry is going to change vastly over the next 10 years, and he can't really, he can sort of see some changes, but he can't see how quickly it's going to take place. He thinks that everyone's going to have gas-powered cars, well into the future, which kind of shows you how, I don't want to use the word backwards, but kind of backwards is the best kind of word to use. He's kind of lost in the past, really. So we've got our sort of academic here. Raquel Rolnick is an urban planner and professor in urbanism at the University of Sao Paulo. She hates to drive but has zero public transport options for her commute in Sao Paulo, a city of 20 million with 7 million registered cars. She is concerned because Sao Paulo has abandoned trains and streetcars since the 1960s. Beginning at 4:30 every day, she studies the 3-hour traffic jams in Sao Paulo and talks about the middle class buying cars faster than ever before. She looks to other major cities like Mumbai, Lagos and London, who are all failing to deal with congestion despite more investment, which is a great point. No matter how much money you invest in the actual highways and also in bus networks and streetcars, it never seems to be enough. And obviously traffic is getting worse and worse. More and more people are buying cars, especially in these countries that have very high rates of GDP growth, and it's very clear that that's not the right approach. Although she doesn't really give us what she believes is the best way forward, probably because it doesn't involve as many bicycles as you'd think. Probably involves a lot more streetcars, trams, trains, etc, etc. So here's our marketer. Obviously you can tell he's of a certain age that believes that everyone's going to use gas cars forever, which is simply not true. They will be dead in the next 5 to 7. Well, they won't be dead, but they'll be in severe decline in the next 5 to 7 years, especially in the next 10 to 15 years. Here's our academic. He's clearly pointing out all the faults that are with the current system that is car-centric, especially in Brazil, where we have 3-hour traffic jams near enough every day. Here's some of the lesser characters in the particular documentary. We have Ivan. He lives in Copenhagen and works as a taxi driver. He is annoyed that 4 in 5 people in Copenhagen own bikes. They are clogging up the roads with slow-moving traffic. Calls this a war and says if you give Satan a finger, he will take your whole hand. Sees bikes swarming around every intersection every day. And he has a very good point here in that you've got a lot of slow-moving bikes. You have some cyclists as well that just don't really obey the rules and seem to want to cycle wherever they want. It does cause a bit of chaos on the roads in Copenhagen in terms of when you're at a junction, you're trying to turn left. It's very difficult when you've got lots and lots of bikes coming from all directions, and they're also only travelling about 4 miles an hour. So again, you can see it from his kind of point of view that maybe it's not quite working in Copenhagen, even though more and more people are cycling. We have Don Ward, is an organiser in LA's Wolfpack Hustle. He has gone from a commuter sitting behind a computer all day to cycling at night with the Midnight Riders Club. He rides on the 405 when it is closed and enjoys the silence and clean air. So they actually closed the 405 freeway for 3 or 4 days for construction work, and he sort of nips over a fence and then goes for a cycle, and it's just like amazing to see all this open tarmac and no noise and clean air. Here's our taxi driver in Copenhagen. Here's our guy, a cyclist. We've got this guy. If you must have heard of Rob Ford. He has, even in the UK, he has a reputation. He has unfortunately passed away recently, but he was very controversial when he was mayor of Toronto. So he was Toronto's 64th mayor. He wants to stop what he calls the war on cars, because the previous mayor and the previous mayor to that as well, obviously were quite keen to promote cycling. He declares it stops today, and then calls cyclists a pain in the arse, referring to hatred between road users, cars and cyclists. When he is elected, Mayor Ford then goes about cancelling the car registration tax, which is, I believe, 60 Canadian dollars per year, and all streetcar extensions. So they had plans to extend the streetcars in Toronto, and he just cancelled it, which is just an insane move. And then on top of that, he begins ripping up cycle lanes in Toronto and restoring them back to purely car lanes. He says, Rob says, if you swim with the sharks, he's referring to the cars and trucks and buses, it's inevitable you'll get bitten. And then he says something along the lines of, my heart bleeds for these people, i.e. the cyclists, but it's their own faults at the end of the day, which is a really insensitive thing to say to people that have died because they've been crushed by maybe a bus or a car. So yeah, he had totally the wrong attitude, which is a terrible thing, really. And he's probably set Toronto back near enough 10 years with all his actions. We then have this woman, Lilian Godoy, is a teacher from Bogota, Colombia. She's also the founder of Bicicleta Educativa, a program that uses bicycles as an education tool for children. She describes the perception that in Bogota, poor people tend to ride bikes and the rich drive cars, which is unfortunately true. And it puts people riding bikes at danger as well, because there's no infrastructure in Colombia. And you see that when you watch the film. She wants to plant a seed in the minds of children that encourages a child to ride a bike. So she actually goes to schools and she teaches them to ride in groups and to ride safely through traffic without fearing all the congestion, which is a really excellent thing. Here's Rob Ford, and here's street markings being removed for the cycle lanes, which is just bonkers. Quite a backward step, that, really. Here's Copenhagen, where you've just got packs and packs of cyclists. Imagine if you've got to turn right, they are just obstructing you. They're all going about 5 or 6 miles per hour, some of them even less. So they're just blocking up the road. Even when there's gaps in between them, it's actually worse, because trying to turn is just very difficult unless you cut them up. Here's Sao Paulo, and they're putting in one of the first major cycle lanes. This is quite a considerable cycle lane. I think it's around 5 foot wide. And that was obviously a major victory for the cyclist campaigners. In Brazil, really a good sort of ending to the film, showing that the campaigning has made a real difference. They're going to be saving lives. They're going to be improving the air quality in the city, and it's definitely worth doing this, as long as you invest in other things as well. You can't just put a cycle lane in and hope that traffic's going to improve. You need to invest in trains and trams, and even the Boeing company and various other forms of transport to make sure, like rapid transit buses, to make sure that you actually cut down on the number of vehicles on the road. This is I think this is Toronto, where this unfortunate person here has died in a cycling accident. It's just kind of showing you what happens on almost a daily basis in major cities. Certainly in London, there have been various instances of cyclists dying as a result of collisions with vehicles. Here's a finished cycle lane in Sao Paulo. As you can see, it's a good size. It's nice, nice red colour, opens up the roads. And here they are at the end, just a lot of naked people riding through, I believe, London. I think it's London at least. Okay, so that'll be probably our one and only documentary or movie review. Why do I think that we should be looking at this particular documentary on this channel? There was obviously no mention of even light rail in this particular documentary, never mind the Boeing company. Well, it raises some very, very key points. Bikes are a useful tool. Definitely, it's definitely beneficial if more and more people are cycling. However, you're never going to get to a stage where you have like 50-60% of the population cycling. It's never going to get that high. You need incredible density for that to occur, and vast majority of cities aren't like that. There aren't enough bike storage facilities, and also the roads are not built in that way. It'd take a lot of investment, and it would cause actually more congestion in the short to medium term, and possibly even the long term as well, because all the other people who are on the road who are forced to use cars are then having to wait for bicycles to go past, and bicycles travel way too slow, hence why they're blocking up the roads. Cars are still needed. We're going to still need cars, we're going to still need roads. However, we need to reduce the number of cars, we need to move people onto public transport, buses, trains, trams, and obviously my favourite one, the Boeing company pods. Excuse me guys. And congestion is killing people. Congestion in LA and Sao Paulo is causing asthma, it's causing lung cancer, it's affecting the health of thousands of people every day. Also, people are killed in accidents because there's no proper cycling lanes. Cars crash into other cars, causing people to die. So it's not a great system. If we had the Boeing company, we have 99% less accidents, if not more than 99%, probably be 99.999%. We need more options. We need everything. We need to expand the current, like in LA, they need to expand the metro network by 200%, if not more than that, maybe 300%. They need to change all their buses to electric. They also need the Boeing company to come in and build thousands of miles of tunnels, and that is what will reduce congestion. It will reduce air pollution, and it will improve transport times considerably. Adding 5 bikes to the road is no better than just adding an extra car. It's just the same, other than for air pollution reasons, yes, but in terms of actual, if you just focus just on congestion, those 5 bikes are all travelling less than 6 or 7 miles per hour. If you have to turn left, you're going to get stuck, and then you've got cars queuing up behind you, and then all the people who are using cars are stuck. And some people who live in the suburbs, who live like 12 miles away, they're not going to get on a bike and cycle into the middle of Copenhagen when it's like 1 degree Celsius in winter. You know, it's just when you get home, you just want to go to sleep. You won't have any time to do anything else, and you'll be so tired. So again, you need a mix. It doesn't make any sense to have like 1 million cycle lanes everywhere blocking the road for cars, and it doesn't work the other way either. It doesn't make sense to have thousands of roads for cars. It's, again, it causes problems, air pollution, it causes congestion. You can never build enough roads. Oh yeah, so we had our Tesla earnings yesterday as well, guys. If you've not already seen that, absolutely smashed the ball out of the park. It was easily 200 million more than what I thought they were going to make in terms of profit. I just thought they were going to make about $60 million profit this quarter, and then maybe quadruple that next quarter, but I think they're probably going to hit around $500 million profit next quarter. So well done to Tesla. That also feeds into the Boring Company, and it gives them that capital to do what we want them to do. Please like and subscribe, guys, to this channel. This is not going to be a movie review channel. This is just a movie or documentary that I watched that I thought was very relevant to this channel, and I definitely recommend going out there and renting it or buying it. It is available on Vimeo. I will put the links in the description below, so please do that. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, and just remember, guys, don't be boring. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Appreciate all the people who come back and watch the videos again and again. It's really helping grow this channel. Thank you. Okay, goodbye.